Welcome to Trading Lounge and the daily US stocks for Friday, May the 27th. And as you know, with the the NASDAQ 100 here, of course, with these indices here, I've been looking at it as an A wave, a B wave, and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 as a C wave for wave 4, and then coming down for wave 5. So, as Sun Tzu would say, in the times of war, like prepare for peace. So in times of a bear market, prepare for a bull market. Even though he was the first one to lose his head, we will still take that on board. And what we're going to do today is we're going to look at the market being completed. Yeah, so we're going to be mindful of this ABC correction here. But at the same time, the markets have moved up quite strongly, and I was, expecting wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to play that out. But some of the stocks have moved up a little bit quickly, too fast, and it looks like they're better to be called in. And as you may recall, we were looking at some of the banks at Morgan's, and some of the stocks that could possibly have lows in place already. So we're going to continue that theme. So now that we're thinking of being bullish and we're also thinking of bearish, now we've got to think about, well, how do we approach this situation? At what point do we go long? Now each market will be slightly different in its pattern, but just as an example here, from wave 3 here, wave 2 rather, to wave 3 here, we're going to see this situation here with wave 5 coming in through here. Obviously these tops are going to kind of pin the market down a little bit, but once we have that top in, because after 5 waves then we're going to see an ABC correction in a nutshell. So at that point we can simply go long at the top, and if you can figure it out, then we can go long at that point there. Is it worthwhile going long in this space here? Well, it's kind of a FOMO behavior, isn't it? Because we're really going to be coming over here. I mean, as a day trader, look to be positive on the Friday and the follow through on the Monday, so to speak. But after these 5 waves might take us way up into the 13,000 here too. That's the other thing. So just be a little bit careful about that as well. So but anyway, our job tomorrow will be understanding these moves here a little bit more in all of this. So let's cruise along. So this is the consumer discretionaries here, and in this case we've got Amazon and Tesla in here, ones that we follow, so, and obviously there's others, and that's obviously not the whole list, of course, but these top 2 that we that take up good 40% of this index here. Well, shit, if we're calling the low in here, that means we need to call the low in for Amazon and Tesla as well, doesn't it? If that's the case, So once again in here we can see a nice, pretty well straight up move here. So the same thing applies here as well. We can just wait for the first, we've got the nice 150 here, the medium level to work with. All we need to do is get that first top in play there, and then we can go long above that top there. We can also go for the second high here as well. But so we've got a 10 tick chart here. Let's just go in and have a look at that particular movement to the upside. Let's get a bit more data in here, maybe more. Okay, so that's our move to the upside here. I haven't labeled it, haven't had time to label it all this morning, but I can see this is a wave 4 here. We've got the third wave in here. We could have a 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 in here. Anyway, it will play out with a classic trading levels pattern across the 150 there. So if I bring this up here, we'll see a pattern like that. So we're not really interested in this, and this over here. We're not even interested in this. We're just interested in this side of the fence. Right, so that's what we'll be looking for over the days ahead. Just going to take this back to the 200 here, and I'm just going to put that over into my, I'm just trying to be a little bit more organized these days. And the tech sector, so the tech sector has got Microsoft and Apple in there, two that we follow. We also follow NVIDIA now as well. So they must have lows in too if we're going to be calling in a low here. So at the same time, we need to be mindful that this could be a corrective rally, but at the same time, we need to start thinking, well, we can have a low in, and we need to, you know, at what point would we need to take action? So that's what we're thinking at that point for these. So after this, we'll be looking at stocks, but just, you know, we're just classifying and allocating these, you know, particular stocks that we look at in the tech sector, and you know, if we're calling a low in here, well, you know, we have to call a low in for all of them in that regard. So with Apple here, we need to look at it like this. So I've just got it now as a simple ABC. Try to always work to simplicity. I mean, one way of looking at this is that I always gravitate to the closest largest number, and that's the medium level at this point. And if that became the support with a classic trading levels pattern sitting on that level there, then we'd be going long from there. Now, if we can see some patterns that can help confirm that we're going to be bullish, well, then we can buy this pullback in here as well on that note. So just looking at it on 1000 ticks on this low here. So in this instance here, I've still got the count that we had yesterday. So yesterday we were looking at this as an A wave, a B wave, which a B wave can go over here, of course, so I'll better put that over here, and then a C wave to the upside here. So in this instance here, we could say that, well, if the market dropped below this level here, then it would be bearish at that point. Okay, so we don't have to go long tomorrow or today or any of those sorts of things, but what we want to do though is we want to look at this being wave 1 here with an ABC for wave 2 here, and then up for 3, 4 and 5, and then we can buy this pullback over here for that. That would be the safe trade with all of this, right? Now, you know, going long in this space here is doable, but you'll need to leave the stop well out of the way down here for that. So I won't go there at the moment for that. But this could be an A, B, C for wave 4 here, because we had this as wave 3 before, and we can still come down at this point. So it's not quite over yet, and I have to say this one looks quite nice for an ABC correction, but normally the C wave is really quite lazy, but it's really quite perky in this move here for that. So anyway, this is Microsoft and Apple rather, and I'm going to say Microsoft before as well. So yeah, let's start to see if we can build a case for this market. So NVIDIA here as well. We were looking for wave 5 to come down. We've got this spike here, and I'm wondering if we could use that. So I'm not going to do anything with this particular stock today. I'm not going to bother counting up through here. I'm just going to wait and see, but I'm just looking at it now as 3, 4 and 5 and 5 here to have a low in place. So in the next video, we'll start working this. If I can see something up here that justifies the situation. I mean, we're looking for a new low below this correction here, and we've got it. Is that it? You know, so it's a bit of an iffy one on that one. So we'll leave that to the side. With Amazon here, we've seen a nice strong move to the upside here, and it's moved above the point that I wanted it to move to at this point. I mean, I could still look at this here as an A wave, a B wave and a C wave and put wave 4 over here. We could do that, but we have made a new low, so you know, that can play out quite nicely. I understand this could be counted differently here as well. We could put this wave 3 here and this wave 4 here for that. But at the same time here, we can look at this move to the upside here, and we can look at I'll just I'll just use these here. We can look at something of this nature. I'll just borrow these as well. So we can look at starting to build a case to the upside here for this, and that will be, I'm just going to borrow these now as well. We don't need them, so to speak, for a while. 4 and 5 here, and that will give us, let's just put in wave 1 at that point and back for wave 2. So it's not like we have to make a move today, because, you know, but I think it's fantastic that we, you know, important that we talk about it. So we're prepared for both sides of the market, you know, like if Friday we see the market have one more push up and then roll over deeply and sharply to the downside, well, we'll just flip back to our bear case and then we'll look for another low down here. But if we see markets, you know, the big markets like this continuing to the upside, well, then at least now we're prepared for it, and how we'll go about doing, how about, you know, how we're going to go about moving in on the long side here. So in a way, we just want that, just to make things simple, we just want that top, but we won't really, we may or may not know when the top is actually in, depending on how clean the count is and how confident they are. But once it pulls back a reasonable way, then we'll go, oh, okay, well that's that, and that must be that, that's that. So what we could do is the market should pull back 50–60%. So let's just grab this and put this over here. This is where it could come back to, and if we get the 5 waves up there, well, then we can just look at buying in that box. So we'll just turn that green, and we could buy in that box. So when you think about it, there's no point in FOMOing it out in here, is there? You know, like getting all sort of bent and twisted about it, that you're missing out or whatever. And then we can make, you know, other moves. We could draw a line through here, we can go along above here. We could also use the levels here. We could say to ourselves, okay, well, we want to get a position at 200 and we want to be buying on top of 300 and 400 and building to the upside in that regard, you know. So yeah, that's sort of where we are. This move up here is only for short-term traders, really, you know, end of day traders. So everybody's doing different things, so it's hard to please everybody, but you know, day traders, you know, they're on their own, you know, really. So but we want to be looking for when the new side is finished and so on, we'll be looking for trend trades, really. That's what we'll be looking for. The site is coming along. The people in Singapore are working on it, not as fast as I would like them to do, but you know, everybody wants everything yesterday, so it's just the way the cookie crumbles. So we just got to be patient. I don't like putting too much pressure on people. It's everything in its own time. So that's sort of where we are at the moment with this. So this is looking really good. This is like presents a really good bullish case, I have to say. You know, at the same time, the whole thing could collapse, but if we get the 5 waves up here, then we should be all right with this one. Let's just move that over to here. And as I mentioned before, with the consumer discretionaries, we've got Tesla in that. We're calling a low in, so we need to call a low in for here as well. So yeah, back to the original target 650 rather than 500, which is a bit of a thing. I'd like to buy some of this as well in my super funds, so I will do that, but I won't do it just yet. I want to have a nice impulse wave up and pull back. So I want to be reasonably secure that I'm buying it, you know, at a reasonable price, you know. The journey's long because we'll be taking out this top, and if you think about it, if this is wave 1 up here and this is wave 2 here, well, there's a long way to go, isn't there, you know? So yeah, it's not a big deal. Anyway, let's go and have a look at it at this point. So I've squashed it up a little bit to fit it all in. But the thing goes, I mean, the reason I've done this for is because it's popped up higher than I thought that it should do. But I mean, I was just expecting it to come back to this wave 4 here, and then we would move down at that point. But now we've got this here. And then if we get 5 waves here, right, we can see wave 1 and 2 is clear. Wave 3 is a nice set of legs here, really, because it's nice and, you know, they're long and thin and so on, and powerful. And so if we get the 5th wave here, then we're going to get some sort of pullback, probably across the 700. So we could put that in there. I'm a bit of a 720 man myself in all of this, so 720, but we will also put in the 700 as well, because in a way this is a little bit like group 2. We've got 65, 72 and 80 here, right? So the market has never really dropped out of group 2, if you will, in a way, and there's lots of important numbers within group 2. I always just use the 65, 72 and the 80 to frame it up, you know, that. But as I say, there's lots of other numbers in there. We don't really use the other numbers unless, you know, we've got plenty of space to work in, like this here. So it makes sense to use 700 in this instance, you know. So we're just going to give that a little bit more definition, as it deserves in this case. So amongst all of this, and when you're using the 700 here, we could go 10, 20 and 30 to get group 1 here, and then the 50 and then the 80, and the 80 here will have a little group 2 in here as well, which has obviously affected these ones over here. Anyway, sorry to waffle, but the main point here is that if we get 5 waves up here, then that's going to help confirm this low being in place. And we need to buy that pullback at that point too. So in this instance here, and it may not even pull back, I don't know if that's going to be the high or not. So, you know, that's something else that we need to consider as well. But if we do get those 5 waves, then we need to turn, you know, turn the town green, so to speak. And I've just put this up here because we don't want to miss out on that, you know. But that's a really another good case for being bullish, really, you know. Taking these tops out here has really cemented that part of it. Okay, I want to put that over there. And alphabet, so we're going to call the low in for here, but we got time, you know. No rush here. Once again, we'll wait to see if we get 5 waves up. If we get the 5 waves, we'll buy this wave 2 here. It's simple as that. So in here we could look at that as 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and yada yada 4, 4. So we've got a while here. We, you know, I mean, you could buy it here and put the stop under. You could put the stop under. Well, under the 100 would be nicer. But we don't know yet if we've got 5 waves, if we're bullish. So we want to confirm the trend first, you know. So all I'm doing today is preparing us for that, because we're probably, oh, you may be bullish, you know, you may have been bullish anyway, but some folks may still be on the bearish side, and it's good for them to think outside the box and look at the long side. So once again here too with Microsoft, we've looked at the US tech sector, the XLK, and calling a low in for that, and this is part of Microsoft here, so we're calling that low in, and that means that this has got a low in here as well. Now I was viewing it, as you know, as an A and a B and a C, and I still got them there as a wave 4 here, but now I've put wave 4 over here, and I've got to fit it in, you know. It's more important to gel the markets together than to get each individual count right, because it's just not going to happen for you, you know. You've got to kind of think out, you've got to be a bit more philosophical about the situation and work it that way, and you'll be safer overall, and it will auto correct your own thinking as well. So you'll be guided by that, you know. That can be your kind of teacher in a way. So here I can see that this would be wave 1 in here, and then there'll be a little wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've still got the 3rd here. We've still got you know, we've still got more to go up in here if we were going to look at this being bullish in here. Then I would look at this something like this here. And we'll pull it apart, you know, in good timing, And then we could look at this here. I'll just move this rather and put that there, but I can know we can count that as wave 1 and 2, but we want the bigger one now. We want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for that, you know. Yeah, so we can look to go long over this point once we've got those 5 waves there. Like I say, you can go, it's a bit of a trap to go long here because you may get away with it and you may not, but it's good for very short-term traders going from, you know, from wherever the price is now to the next number of the same degree. And the other interesting thing here too is it's finding, you know, it didn't find, this is a medium level here, 250, and then we've got group 2, 65, 72 and 80. It eventually dropped out of here, tried to get back in, couldn't do it, dropped down, and now it's having another crack. So if we could see it sitting up in here, that I have to say that's a very positive thing with group 2 of a market, can climb up and, you know, scratch itself a living in that space, because then it will stay there, and that will just give us that wave 1 at that point too, so that's good. And Meta, we talked about Meta in 2 different ways. We talked about it, if I can just go back here, we talked about it on the daily chart here. We talked about it like this with 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And then we also talked about it with this way here, where we had wave C in with wave 1 here and wave 2. I was looking for an extra low, I didn't get it, so somehow I need to look at this here if we're going to put this in here. That move up there really confirms that it's not coming back into that space. So we have to look at this as an A and a B and a C in here. Well, a corrective pattern. You probably may need to put it as a WXY or something else, but either way. But we don't have to do anything here as well. You know, we don't have, like I said over the last few sessions, is that we don't have to buy at the low. You know, we can be safe about this. We can use the 200 here as a classic trading levels pattern. And the good thing about that, you know, if we enter over here, we can, or even buying the pullback here, moving in over here, and at 200, then you got 210, 220, 230, and then 250. So we can build all the way in over there. And if we use the price, then we can put our stops under that, because if that's triggered here, for instance, then our stop under the 200, or, you know, there's going to be all the orders are going to rush up to that 200 thinking they're going to get back in, you know, get filled. And they won't. So we can just look for a classic trading levels pattern at that point. So let's just go back. Was it 100 ticks I had that on? Let's just check it out. Was it 1,000? I can't remember. Here we go. That's all good. So yeah, I might need to lift this up a degree of structure or something, but it doesn't really matter, and I haven't really figured out all of this. I can see that's the 3rd wave here, but like I said, as I just mentioned then, we'll look for a classic trading levels pattern on this level here. You could go in here, but you'll have to leave the stop over here somewhere, you know. You could get, like, it's moving really strong, and I can see that, so you could go just get a very small position here if you wanted to. That's not going to do too much sort of damage at that point. We'll have to put in a stop for that down here somewhere. We want to keep it, you'd probably put it, we've got to keep away from this wave 2 a bit. We'll just put it there. That's what you'll have to do at this point, or somewhere in that space. I mean, obviously you don't need to listen to me, but what you do need to do is, like, if you're going for the long haul, if you're going from here to here, then you could probably do a full trade or buy the dips, any pullback you see in here. But we got to get through this wave 2 here. So when you think about it, the move up to the top here is going to be, I'll take it to 205, and may only go to 203, but it still brings you back into this space here. So that's what we'll be thinking over here, to be, you know, if we can figure out, and it may not even pull back that far. That's the other point too. So there's a lot of ifs and buts. That's why I always just stay with the wave count and count the waves, you know. But we will be, if we can count 5 waves up here, we'll buy this box, and we won't just have it on the 50%, we'll have it in the 40% as well. You know, we need to get in somewhere down here, and then we can look at 90. If you're talking about 90, well, anywhere with 90, 1, 2, and 3, which would be group 1, so getting it at 93 will be fine, you know. And then the idea is to get one, you know, get one here, one on the level here, and then one on each one of these here, and then we just wait, and then once the 250 becomes the support, then we can get another one here, and now we're starting to stretch it out a bit. So the mathematics work out a bit better over time with all of this. But anyway, that's what we're looking at, so that's all good. And Berkshire Hathaway here, it was interesting here because we already talked about this, didn't we, as being an A wave, a B wave, and 1, 2, 3, yada yada yada, all the way down here, and having a low in place, and then looking this to move up. Now this might sound really subtle here. It's quite, I don't like gaps being sort of left open. It depends on the market, of course, but when I see a market come down and cover the gap, it just tells me that it doesn't need to come back to cover it. Do you know what I mean? You kind of forget about it in that way. This one here is open, but that's okay because that will be in the, this will be wave 2 here. So we're in the third wave coming up. So we'll be in the third wave coming up, and then we're in wave 1 here and wave 2 and then wave 1. So we're in the third of the third of the third at this point, you know. That'll be up there somewhere. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. And then we've got 1 and 2 in here, and 3 and 4 and 5 up to this little guy here. So I think that now that that's triggered, we'll just copy that and we'll just plonk that under there. Configure. So if this was going to fail, it would be the A wave, the B wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we better just put that in there and keep a closer eye on it in that regard. So if it was going to fail, that would be the wave C at that point. Okay, so you could trade it to there. That would also be the 38.2% retracement level. So if we took it from here, if we looked at this, if we're going into a big bear market, we'll look at this as 1 and 2 and all of the third wave down here. So I think we looked at this before, didn't we? That we had already had it worked out there, the 38.2. So I mean, it's going to stall there anyway because of that number and because of that ratio, and it will stall here and it will stall here, like it stalled at this number here as well, at that ratio. But anyway, that's all here nor there. But let's see how this travels. I mean, as a third wave with a gap in it and so on, that's a good sign that we're in wave 3 rather than wave C. Actually, Berkshire and Hathaway. The other thing that I wanted to have a look at, this was the this is the iShares ETF here of low volatility stocks. So I thought this was quite sort of interesting here in that we've got wave A here with an A, B, and C here for the B wave, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, all a little bit squashed up here, but it's giving us that end here for this. So yeah, daily chart, S&P. Low volatility finished, so moving up at this point, you know. So I thought that was quite interesting. So over to Square. Now I've got the banks finished off too, pushing up, because we already looked at Morgan's over the last few days of having a low in place. So here we just need to be a little bit careful. The way that I'm going to approach it is how I said at the beginning of the video, is that we've had wave 3 here, and then we've had wave 4 over here, but I can see that we've got this this move here down in 3 waves. So this is coming up, hasn't taken the top out here yet, but we probably get 5 waves here. So I need to look at it in 2 ways. So I could look at it as an A wave here, a B wave here, and 5 waves up here for wave C here, wave 5 of C of 4. Okay, but at the same time, I can also look at it as all of this here just as wave 1 here. It means that we'd have to look at this as wave 1 here as well, and I'm not sure how to count that just yet. I need to kind of give that some consideration, but we don't want to miss out on this, you know. So there's a possibility that we can come lower in this one. At the same time, once these 5 waves here are finished, it can be wave C or 4, and then we'll just work lower at that point. But once those 5 waves are finished there, we're going to go long above the top. Now, we might be able to get a better position on the top of the second one down here, but I won't buy the pullback at this point for this one. I want a clear breach of the top. Once we get 5 waves there, I want a clear breach of that. It will pull back. You know, like I said, maybe we can get this second one here as wave 2 here, and then moving up higher at that point. So we may, I mean, I haven't gone back and done it, but I know that I can go back and put a wave 5 in here because it's how I originally had it, but it was just, yeah, the timing wasn't right for everything at that point. Anyway, this is what we're doing for Square at the moment, and it will work itself into a corner, and when it comes out, we will ride that if that's going to move to the upside. The finance sector, we're calling a low in here for this market, for this sector. Got a nice strong move up through here. It's going to come back up and test these previous lows here. Always a good sign of a bullish market. And yeah, so that's that. And with that in mind, we'd already been looking at Morgan's here as a low in place for this. Not sure what they are, but they can go. Yeah, so I think this was one of my first ones to call in actually. So we're not going to do anything today on this, because at 100, and we got 1, 2, and 3 here, which is group 1. So we should see the market push up above group 1 and then fold back. So we'll just wait for that a little bit and allow that to play out, but we're going to buy the pullback in all of this, okay, and the top, and we'll start building into the long side on that one. And this leaves BAC here, so we need to call the low in here as well. So I've rearranged this here. I know it doesn't look fantastic and you can throw things at me, and I understand all of that, but if we are calling a low in, I've got to find a way to do it. And yeah, so let's let's just see, but let's go to the 10 tick chart and just have a closer look at this one at least. So the things here, originally we were looking for an A wave here and a B wave here and then a C wave up here for this. Okay, so that's cool, and that could still happen. You know, as I mentioned, we could still get this A, B, C here, and then the markets can crash down here and we'll just revert back to our bear market. But today's video is really about looking at this as 1 and 2 and going up for 3 here and then 4 here and then 5 here. And if we do get 5 waves up, well, then we're going to simply buy the pullback here. We'll buy it back here and we'll be building in all through over here. So will we get this? Well, let's just see. You know, it doesn't really matter at this point, but just, you know, I'm just sort of working ahead of the markets and putting this forward because we need to plan, and if it's going to be bullish, and you know, we need to be all over it, you know. So this is what this is about at this point. So let's just see if all this finishes off here for the banks. Alrighty, a bit of a long video, sorry about that, but just the way the cookie crumbled. So yeah, anyway, let's after all of that being said, let's see what happens, and we'll be prepared for both sides of the market. Alrighty, enjoy the weekend. Cheers.